The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Faster by, good afternoon. Welcome to Mannin Line on Manx Radio. Open line through till 1 today, so call 66 13 68. You can text or WhatsApp on 166 177. Email studio@manxradio.com. When I started doing Mannin Line, it was October 1998. And one of the first things, well, actually the third thing we talked about after Manx Airlines being too expensive, well, and nobody liking the Ben McCree, the third thing we talked about was dog muck. Nothing's changed much, has it? Ramsey commissioners are launching a campaign to encourage people to pick it up. You heard in the news, £1,000 on posters and signs around Ramsey, and there's a new town warden being hired to help combat the issue. Who's doing this? Well, I know who's doing it, the dogs. But who is not picking up? Most people do, don't they? Most responsible dog owners feel compelled, really, a sense of civic duty to actually do this. Some people think, nah, won't bother. Who are they? Who are these people? What do you think should happen? Oh, yesterday, do you remember somebody said the DOI is taking on painters at £40,000? It's not. It's Douglas City Council. Douglas City Council advertising for a painter. Grade 6 SCP 24 to 30, between 36 and £44,000 a year. Exciting opportunities for a painter if you fancy. Well, today, of course, what a job that will be today to do that. Any thoughts? Text, email, call, WhatsApp. Let's get to the phones. And Julian's on first. Hi, Julian.
Hi, Andy. That is a beautiful day out there, isn't it? What a nice temperature.
Well, fantastic. Have you been out have you been sea swimming today?
I have, earlier on this morning. It's absolutely...
Where did you go?
Just down into Port St Mary. So the sea colour was absolutely, looks like Mallorca, somewhere like Calador or something. Just looked absolutely beautiful. The sea temperature was probably a little bit cooler, but it's good. On your show yesterday, Andrew was asking about the origin of where the 20 mile an hour budget decision came from.
Yeah.
It's important to note that the original cost of the 20 mile an hour rollout was estimated at £2.9 million. Now, the DOI minister, who at the time was a Port St Mary commissioner, Michelle Haywood, said that the requirement under the original design, under the 2.9 million, was for speed cushions, traffic islands, speed tables, and road painted signage, which would ruin her village of Port St Mary. Michelle Haywood went on to say that it was bureaucrats who think they know better are insane and almost criminal for suggesting this over-engineered approach, and that it was just a copy and paste approach for the UK.
Where did you find all this?
However, it's spoken of on the Tynwald's website.
Okay.
So the DOI minister basically was saying that she now cites evidence from London, Brussels and Wales, even though she said at the time that it was a copy and paste approach from the UK to roll it out properly. Now, this is despite London and Brussels having at least 52 times the population density of the Isle of Man. But the DOI minister is failing to grasp that 20 mile per hour zones without massive expenditure don't work. And this was discovered in both the London Borough of Merton study, along with the Steer Davies Gleave report. These reports stated that without significant expenditure on the road furniture, around 10 times more than a signage-only approach. So you probably, by the time you'd finished, if you actually were to roll out an island-wide 20 mile an hour limit that you actually wanted to work, it would probably be 4 million, because it's 400,000 now. It's pointless to rely on signs only, according to these two reports. Now, it's also important to remember that the origin of the debate on 20-mile-an-hour zones on the island was first stated by Bill Shimmons in October of 2020. And interestingly, he cited the Stockholm Declaration. That is a United Nations document advocating for worldwide 20-mile-an-hour zones wherever traffic interacts with cyclists or pedestrians. He also mentioned another United Nations body to roll out this 20-mile-an-hour, and that is the World Health Organization. And he also cited Lord Robertson, the former Secretary General of NATO, who is currently working for Keir Starmer, conducting a defence review. It's important to remember that Lord Robertson had a serious head-on car accident in 1976, where the other driver got a careless driving conviction. So he's kind of, shall we say, he's had experience of this, but it wasn't within any town.
Yeah.
Bill Shimmons also cited Wales in 2020 as a reason to roll out 20-mile-an-hour zones here. But of course, history has now shown how unpopular, damaging and polluting the Welsh 20-mile-an-hour rollout was.
And I'm sure Bill Shimmons wouldn't mind me pointing out he's an extremely keen cyclist.
Well, correct. So over £4 billion was lost from lack of Welsh tourism as people went elsewhere because it was taking too long to get anywhere because of this huge rollout of the 20-mile-an-hour zones. So the £400,000 20-mile-an-hour rollout is cheaper than the original estimated 2.9 million, which would probably be 4 million. But as always, you get what you pay for. So if we're not going to do massive alterations to the island's roads, it's absolutely pointless, and this consultation is basically a useless charade, Andy. Unless we're going to ignore a Belfast study, the London Borough of Merton, and the other study, the Steer Davies Gleave report.
Why do you think they're doing it then?
Are we being told to do this by the United Nations? I mean, is this just... I don't know. I mean... There was this idea from the DOI minister that didn't want to spoil Port St Mary. I mean, I tell you now, nobody's doing 20 in Port St Mary, especially on the crossroads coming in or along Beach Road. So it is being ignored. There's no denying that.
And I think this is the point in that I think several former politicians have mentioned the fact that if laws don't appear to have common sense behind them, then people won't take any notice of them. So, and particularly as we've got the evidence of the chief constable who doesn't seem to be, waving a flag for it, there's no evidence that they're going to be able to police it and subsequently prosecute offenders. So why is it being done? I mean, I've read all sorts of conspiracy theories about, it's so that they can get our GPS and charge us by the mile, and road tax will go, it'll cost a lot more, they'll know how many miles people are doing. I mean, surely it's not that. And surely, the politicians understand that there isn't a great swell of public opinion behind this.
Well... when the DOI minister was asked in Tynwald back in March about the evidence for this, the reply was that they're not going to comment on something that hasn't happened yet, but the data is coming from London, Brussels, etc. So it's not even like for like. I mean, this is going to impact Kirkmichael, for example, or Andreas, which is, they're 400 times less population density. Douglas is hardly... I mean, if you look at the map of Douglas, this would be the equivalent, because it's our capital, so it would be the equivalent of every road in London, more or less, except the outer distributor or arterial roads, every one of them being a 20. And they haven't they haven't done that. So this doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
Unless we're just tick-boxing from the United Nations diktat, I would suggest.
Okay, all right, appreciate it. Thanks, Julian. Good to hear from you.
Thanks, Andy. Cheers.
12:15 on Manx Radio. This is the Mannin Line, and this is Howard with us now. Hi, Howard.
Hello, Andy. I just walked in when you were saying about the old chestnuts. There's one. I've just driven from Quarterbridge to Braddon Bridge, and one that I've been bringing up for a number of years, the lime trees in Portashee, the ones that's been planted there to commemorate the Jubilee, King George V, and those weed trees, I refer to them because that's what they are essentially. They're growing up through and underneath in quite proliferation now, and they've never been removed. And as you know, and you sent me the actual copy of the leaflet with all the people that were at the presentation, the planting of the trees in 1930 something, the people, the Kirby's, the Drinkwaters, a large part of that family were there at the presentation, at the planting. But this Kirby estate, as it is now, don't seem to be doing anything with them at all. And it's not going to be long before the beautiful line of trees that we have there, the lime trees, are going to be decimated by the weed trees coming up underneath. And I'm just wondering, now that we've got a new face in at DEFRA, perhaps, because we were told, or I was, there's nothing we can do because it's not in our remit and it's a private estate, so just, more or less mind your own business. But now we have a new face in there, perhaps this chap can stir or instill a little bit of common sense into the people and get those weed trees removed.
Yeah, they're starting to look untidy, aren't they, Howard?
Very untidy. It'll not be long before they get to the point where they'll be saying, well, we can't take them down because they're established trees, they're a certain size, they're a certain thickness of trunk, we've got to have planning permission. But if you remember, there was a chap 4, maybe even 5 years ago, was cutting the branches off the trees at the Quarterbridge end, and he was fined several £1,000s. So the people in DEFRA do have the ability to change the aspect. But those trees, and we just had the TT now, and all the filming that was done from Quarterbridge, the bikes going up to Braddon Bridge, those trees were in it all the time. And there was a hue and cry when that tree, the oak tree at the entrance into Braddon Bridge, was damaged. But nobody seems to bother about these beautiful trees that's lining the road all the way down through. So maybe, just maybe, the old chestnut can be opened up again, and perhaps somebody in DEFRA will have the guts to do something about it, because they just seem to be sitting on their backsides, twiddling their thumbs.
And as you say, at some point it's going to be too late.
Yes, yeah. Well, the shape of those trees is dedicated by the type of tree and where they're planted. And when there were cattle on that field, the cattle used to chew the bottoms of them, and that gave that almost pyramid shape. But now these weed trees, and they're like a sycamore, and they can grow anything up to 4 or 5 feet a year. They've only just blown in from the other trees, self-seeded, and as the spring, up they pops, and this must be 4 or 5 or even more years now these things are growing up through, and they're getting stronger by the day, and they will eventually destroy those trees. So let's see, the new chap that comes in, somebody's bound to say something to him. He's got to have friends in this world somewhere, and perhaps then he might take notice and do something about it.
Okay, all right, Howard, we appreciate it. Thanks for raising that.
Okay, take care.
All right, now. Bye. It's 12 on Manx Radio's Mannin Line.
Hello, I'm now in my mid-80s, and I've now caught COVID-19. I didn't have COVID-19 when it all came out, but I have it now, and I don't see anything in the newspapers that there is an outbreak of COVID-19, or I was told a few months ago that I was overage and I couldn't get a further injection for that. So what I'm asking is, why wasn't there any notification of this outbreak if this is what's happening now? Anyway, thank you.
Any thoughts on this? Anybody? Have you got COVID these days? How is it? What's the situation? Well, of course, it's a different COVID, isn't it? I don't think they've actually renamed it, but the coronaviruses are around all the time. It'll be interesting to know, though, and if you've got anything to report on this, we'd like to hear from you. Thanks to Scott, who just said, I heard that they want £15.61 million. Is that right? This is Manx Care. Well, Claire Christian, the Minister, she confirmed that Manx Care's operational overspend for 24-25, that is up until the end of March, was £15.61 million. The DHSC underspent by £370,000. The previous motion was put forward in March, but with the item not having been completed the necessary 4 weeks on the Tynwald's Register of Business, members chose not to debate the item. Some members expressed concern that the financial year hadn't yet completed and the final figures weren't known, so the revised motion has been published 4 weeks ahead of July's sitting, ensuring that the item will be moved next month. It states that Manx Care has identified cash savings of £11.1 million as part of its cost improvement plan, but employee costs, tertiary care and drug spend all increased over the 12-month period. So the department previously estimated it would need up to £20 million to cover the overspend, but says specialist support and forecasting has reduced the monthly spend and mitigated additional risks. DHSC previously forecast a larger underspend, but the final quarter cost relating to the medical pay award of £2.3 million, improvement initiative costing £1.19 million, and the £130,000 spent on vaccines reduced its underspend to £370,000. Manx Care's total operational expenditure for the period, £362 million, with the healthcare provider having the approved budget of £347. So 362 minus 347, you get the picture. We'll find out more next week. Teresa Cope is on Mannin Line next Wednesday, so we'll obviously talk about this and more and hear what Mrs. Cope has to say. And if you want to get in touch on the date on Wednesday, by all means you can, or if you want to get a question in beforehand, just email manninline@manxradio.com or call the answer phone on 682 631. Robert's with us now. Hello, Robert.
Some figures you abandon around there.
It's all money,
Andy,
isn't it? It's all money.
Well, yes, money. I mean, it seems to be two things. One, the weather's improved dramatically, and also Jeff's been caught, Jeff the mongoose. I don't know if you caught up with that.
And they found Dusty the cat as well, in Bristol of all places. Did you hear that?
Did they?
Well,
no, was that the hospital cat?
Yeah, Dusty the hospital cat has turned up. I don't know whether Dusty drove across herself, but she got a 5-day steam packet thing. But yeah, and Jeff, of course, the mongoose, was found in the brewery. Well, actually, in the brewery grounds.
He wanted a pint, didn't he?
That's what it was. But we still haven't found Elvis the German Shepherd yet.
Oh, well, that's how we haven't found Elvis. I think he's on the £5 note or the £20 note or something, isn't he?
Anyway, that wasn't why you called.
The weather's dramatically improved, and I was just going to talk about Jeff the mongoose, but some of those figures you abandoned about before were big figures, to be honest with you. I don't know how they accumulate all of that. Is that over the course of each year, or is that over the course of the 5 years?
No, that's the year. That's the year. That's the 24-25 financial year. Yeah, they're a bit short, and they're asking us for more.
Well, it mostly goes on wages, doesn't it?
That's the interesting point, isn't it? At the moment, we've always had industrial threats and what have you from either the nurses or the doctors, and as you say, a lot of it does go on wages. And at the end of it,
my mum's out. My mum's out every so often protesting about conditions, and I think she's with one of the unions and what have you. And they pull their weight. To be honest with you, they're good workers. So I mean, they need to be cared for. Really, I'm not quite sure how you'd facilitate that financially, but I mean, it's all to play for, really, isn't it?
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Good to hear from you.
Anyway, good luck. I'll talk again soon. Bye.
12:25. People need to stop citing the 20-mile-per-hour issue that it's all the fault of the present DOI Minister, Michelle Haywood. This has been in the pipeline for years. it was, I think, mooted, first of all, in 2020. A point also to make is that our island roads weren't built for the hundreds, if not thousands, of HGVs, heavier private cars, and tens of thousands of extra cars on the roads. Yet here we are. If everybody drives considerately and mindfully for pedestrians, children, elderly people and other drivers, then we wouldn't have needed the 20 miles per hour on the Isle of Man, says Joe. Thank you, Joe, for your point of view. A note also that says the 20 mile per hour debacle is somebody's agenda to bring in speed cameras when the police say they can't police them. We need to find out who's got the power over the masses in our transparent democracy, says Dave. Well, the authorities have the power over us. Now, I don't know, do you think this is the point? At the moment, the police, the constabulary, say nothing to do with us, Gov. So if there is a 20 mile per hour limit, it is relatively easy to put in speed cameras. Costly, of course, but then again, if they do generate revenue, as in, let's say, a 60, £80 fine every time somebody goes over a certain limit, they take a photo of the car, that gets sent to you, you pay the fine, there you are. And suddenly the money will mount up. Now, is this the way to go forward? And the 20 mile per hour limit has been argued about by many people. The only thing I can possibly point out is that there isn't an enormous queue of people saying this is a great idea. I got a note in from Sarah, who said, I listened to this 20 mile per hour debate very carefully. And sometimes they say it's for road safety. Well, saying it's for road safety is saying, I want world peace. We all want road safety, says Sarah. We all want world peace. It's just how you get it. And bearing in mind, there aren't dozens of people knocked down on our roads every year. There aren't many people killed on our roads every year. So, is this a sledgehammer to crack a nut, or is there something behind it? Says Sarah. Is it the cycling lobby? Is it the equestrian lobby? Who's lobbying for pedestrians? Why has this been brought in? And why, when we've got so many other problems, are they making it a priority? Dusty's in Cornwall, apparently, says Reese. This is amazing. How did this cat get from the Isle of Man to Cornwall? Did Dusty swim? Or paddleboard across? How did Dusty get to Cornwall? So Jeff the mongoose was found in the grounds of the brewery. Dusty's found in Cornwall, and we haven't found Elvis the German Shepherd dog yet. But Ken's on now. Hi, Ken.
Afternoon. I'm just ringing to see if anybody else is as confused as I am about the wage, not the living wage, but the working wage in the Isle of Man, which is different to the UK. The Treasury Minister is talking about you should look at the annual salary, not the hourly rate. But if the UK have got a higher salary limit for a visa, how is somebody going to get to the Isle of Man on a lower salary? Unless they fly in direct from somewhere out of the EU. And if the UK do allow them in, who's going to control them that they don't disappear once they get to the Isle of Man?
Well, that is what we don't know. The fact is, at the moment, we have relatively open borders, and obviously the one thing nobody can do is come here and claim benefits. That's point one. So people may come in and get a job. Obviously, that's subject to work permit rules. So, if it contravenes work permit rules, they're immediately committing a criminal offence. So, at the moment, Ken, we don't actually know. And as you say, who is policing all this? Well, we presume that either Customs and Excise or the police or the employment people are policing this.
But if the Isle of Man's going to have a lower, is it 25,000 salary for a visa?
Yeah.
Who's going to issue that? Is that the UK? They will get somehow, you're going to the Isle of Man, so you've got special dispensation. Because our limit's 30. Did he say 32 or 35,000? The Treasury Minister for the UK.
I'm trying
for
to
the
find
annual
out.
salary.
Yeah.
You know, and I do wonder how you work out what the hourly rate is from 25,000. I tried to do something. I didn't get to £15.05 somehow. So I wish.
Well, it's from October. If people come to the Isle of Man on a working visa, they have to have a job that pays the living wage. That's the rule. Previously, they'd committed to matching the minimum wage with the living wage, but didn't. So it's the living wage that if somebody comes to the Isle of Man, they have to have a job paying the living wage. They can't undercut people. They can't undercut Manx workers.
How's that compared? How do you round that up to an annual salary then? Because that's what the Treasury Minister was on about. He was on about it's not the hourly rate, it's the annual salary that's important.
Well, it will be due to the amount of hours you do, won't it?
Yeah, so maybe you can earn less as long as you do more hours, which takes you up to the annual salary cap, if you see what I mean. Confused appeal, I'm sorry to say.
All right, Ken. Well, it's probably the heat that's doing it.
Yes, okay, thanks now.
28 minutes to 1. Tynwald members are going to be asked next month to debate and approve a number of recommendations regarding the calculation and approach to the Isle of Man's living minimum wage. Something that's going to be put to the test. A previous commitment was to align the rate with the living wage by 2026. Following a review, it's been recommended that the process for determining proposals in respect of the minimum wage be set as a percentage of the Isle of Man's median earnings. Are you following this? Earlier this year, when the minimum wage was increased to £12.25 per hour, the Enterprise Minister committed to a review into the current process for determining proposals in respect of the minimum wage, considering the statutory requirements prescribed in the Minimum Wage Act and a Tynwald policy position of alignment with the living wage. A second planned uplift to £13 from the 1st of October has been put on hold. That review, now published, has resulted in some recommendations, including the process for determining proposals in respect of the minimum wage be set as a percentage of the Isle of Man's median earnings. That the percentage calculations be set at 66% of median earnings for April 2026. Implementation, delivering a minimum wage rate directly tied to a commonly recognised living wage benchmark. Are you following this? That the minimum wage is submitted to Tynwald for approval in October every year, with an implementation date of the following in April, and that the Department for Enterprise prepares legislation to include recommendation changes to the minimum wage legislation, including the role and functioning of the Minimum Wage Committee. Did you follow that? Well, thank you to Terry, who's just sent a message in saying, I know why that cat's gone to Cornwall now. Richard, now the minimum wage limit in Wales hasn't been abandoned. Last year, 85,000 drivers were prosecuted for exceeding 20 mile per hour. You don't need any more police to patrol 20 mile an hour roads than you do 30 mile an hour roads. That's an awful lot of fines. If, like some say, it's been abandoned. In Wales, the collisions and accidents dropped by 25%. So far in 2025, that's approaching a third. This is Richard. Richard, where do you get your figures from? If you send me a link to this, that'd be great. It's not going to be reversed. So some people are saying it is going to be reversed. The Welsh Government facts say it isn't. More importantly, that's 25% fewer children being killed. Richard, if you got something to back this up, so if you can send me a link where this is concerned. Imagine telling parents, sorry, your child died riding their bike because somebody wanted to go at 30 miles per hour in an estate rather than a fraction slower at 20. Far too many people and children will be alive today if they were hit by a car at 20 rather than 30. So would you prefer your child crossing the road where they live to be hit by a car doing 30 or 20, says Richard. That's Richard's point of view. If you've got any other thoughts, then by all... And if you are quoting me facts, by the way, please, if you could send a relevant link to something, I'd appreciate it. What's the point of 20 miles per hour, says 593, when we aren't going to police them? And another point, why do we need a 14-storey building, and are they going to be subjected to a shadow test? Says this, as my son's been told that, and all he's doing is a small extension on his property. This is the 14-storey building that is set to go up. Well, I mean, it's at the planning stage at the moment, so it's a long way from this. But the planning stage on the old Lord Street bus station. Do you remember that? Have they cut the weed down yet? And have they got rid of the motorhomes in that unofficial car park? Michelle Haywood, this is 114, says Andy, Michelle Haywood and the DOI really should be moving the post which is blocking the pavement they're aware of in Onken if they are so keen on preventing accidents. It's currently forcing prams and wheelchairs into the road. The 20 mile per hour, I think, is a complete waste of time and money based on more and more lies each day, says 114. Regarding Manx Care needing the extra £16 million, seriously, what happens if Tynwald doesn't approve it, says Andy. Well, they'll be in trouble, I would imagine, but as the health levy is being talked about, then presumably that's all going to happen. Claire Christian, again, as I say, is seeking an extra 15.3 million at next month's sitting of Tynwald to cover the overspend. So it looks like it's going to happen. A message in from Lenny, this is. Hi, Lenny, and just saying, I don't like this idea about what's happening to self-employed people on the Isle of Man, and I wonder why it is. New readers start here. If you're wholly or primarily self-employed, you'll no longer be eligible for employed persons allowance if proposed legislations are approved by Tynwald next month. This social security benefit, this is the employed persons allowance, is income related and paid to families and disabled workers who are employed for at least a minimum number of hours per week. The number of hours, number of required work hours depend on personal circumstances and children's ages, while the amount payable is based on family makeup, housing, childcare costs and income. Treasury says that while eligibility for employed individuals is based on verified earnings and hours worked, self-employed claims rely on reported profits, which are often unverifiable due to cash-based income and untracked hours. If approved, changes to the regulations will take effect from the 1st of September this year, and no new self-employed claims for EPA, Employed Persons Allowance, will be accepted from the 1st of September. Existing claimants, about 50 individuals of the 950 getting EPA currently, will retain eligibility for 15 months. So if you are self-employed and you receive EPA, the clock is ticking. Ramsey commissioners want to encourage people to pick up dog mess. If you're in and around Ramsey, I just wonder whether this is something that you are aware of. I mean, the mess, not the... Anyway, the local authority is spending £1,000 on posters and what have you. The vice chair of Ramsey Commission is Sandra Cottam-Shea. And she's urging people who see dog owners leaving mess to educate those responsible. And she says a culture change will be needed. Educate. Does that mean you have to tell people that they should pick up the... If they're the sort of people who leave dog mess, do you think they're going to take a blind bit of notice? Sandra Cottam-Shea.
It's an issue. It's a problem. It's not just limited to Ramsey. I believe it's worldwide. It is a continuing issue, and we have listened to the public, the ratepayers, who want something done.
And what kind of a campaign is it that you're going to do? Because it took a few different forms during the meeting. So what have you all agreed on as the outcome of this?
So what we have done is agreed to take the cheaper option, which is about roughly just over £1,100 for posters and stickers, in combination with the advertising appointment of a new town warden.
How effective do you think the town warden in combination with the posters and stickers will be for the town?
Well, I'm hoping for positive results, but this has to come. It's a cultural change. We have to, you must never put yourself at risk, but we mustn't be afraid of challenging perceived antisocial behaviour. behaviour. I wouldn't, again, advocate putting myself or anybody at risk, but I wouldn't hesitate on challenging somebody who I saw didn't pick up their dog's waste.
It was obviously mentioned in the meeting about bins and there maybe not being as many bins or the wrong bins. Do you think putting stickers on the bins and saying people can use this bin to dispose of dog waste will help? Is that going to be part of your campaign?
I hope so, and it'll be cheaper than putting the smaller dog bins back. They just filled up so quickly and then spilled out. I did say in the meeting, I think it was misinterpreted, if you do have the capacity, if you're out with your dog, you're obviously going to get home. So take your waste home and put it in your own bin. If it's wrapped up, it's okay to carry. There was mention of people not using certain bins because you had to touch them. We have to put this into perspective. You have just picked up fecal waste.
And if people do see somebody not picking up dog waste or they think they might know people who aren't, what is the best course of action for them to take?
Well, if you're a dog owner, dog walker like myself, you've always got poo bags in your pocket. Offer one. Be polite about it. Recommend, educate, assist. Don't go in guns blazing. But this takes a village, takes a town to change culture.
Sandra Cottam-Shea, that is, Vice Chair of Ramsey Commissioners, with our local democracy reporter Emma Draper. Would you do that? If you saw somebody not picking it up, would you pop across and just say, excuse me? It'll be interesting to see as well whether the town warden works. If you can tell me your experience on this, then by all means do get. Have you ever told anybody to do that? 18 minutes to 1. Andrew's with us now. Hello, Andrew.
Hi, Andy. Let me just pick up on that last call. I wasn't phoning about it, but my thoughts on the last call, it should be, in my opinion, made an offence that if, when challenged to do so, a person cannot produce a poo bag.
You would think most dog owners carry them, don't they?
You would think, well, this is it, you would think, but I don't believe they do. So if it was made an offence, as I've just said, that if challenged when to do so, to produce a dog poo bag, they haven't got one, well, there you go, fixed penalty, 50 quid. Thanks very much.
It'll be interesting to see if the warden in Ramsey starts doing that, if they start issuing fines.
Yeah, but they need the legislation in place. They need or the bylaws or something so that somebody can issue the fixed penalty ticket. £100, thanks very much. Where's your poo bag? I haven't got one. Okay, £100, thanks very much. Okay. You soon find that people will be carrying bags. Anyway, what did I call? Yes, about the £16 million overspend. Yeah. And you said it's inevitable, I believe.
Well,
that's what you said.
They're asking for £15.3 million pounds, so they'll either get it or they won't.
So, and as I did ask in the text, what happens if they don't get it? Well, perhaps somebody more knowledgeable than I can actually come on and tell us what happens if they don't get it. But as you say, it's inevitable. So actually, if we look at it from that perspective, there's no control over their budget. They just ask for whatever they want, and they're going to get it. But because if they don't get it, what are the ramifications?
That used to happen with the DSC before that, even when Manx Care didn't exist.
So there's no control. Effectively, there's no control over their budget, and that's what needs to be addressed. So you've got Teresa Cope coming on next week. So I hope she's listening. So please, Teresa, when you come in, can you give us all the full CV of your accountant, your finance director? For example, what are the finance director's qualifications for cost control? Because to my mind, if there's somebody there who's the finance director and they're told what the budget is, if they can't keep to it by maybe a contingency of, say, 10%, this is what your budget figure. If you can't keep to it, then you're not competent. You need to be put on a competent assessment, and then if you fail it the next year, you lose your contract or whatever it is, you lose the position, and they find somebody who can actually do the job. That's all I have to say.
I appreciate it, Andrew.
Thanks very much.
Good to hear from you. Thank you. And Roger's with us now. Hi, Roger.
Hi, Andy. Just a tongue-in-cheek school of thought. Reference poo bags. do they not come under the category of single use?
Well,
if so, haven't they been outlawed for the last 12 months or so?
Very interesting. I think at the time we did raise this issue about single-use plastic, and I think they're excluded. I think that there's a sort of get-out-of-jail card for dog muck bags. So we'll say that. Okay. What do we do about this, Roger? What do we do about people who don't pick up?
It's an impossible, isn't it? You, as you said earlier on, the people that not pick it up and are not going to take any notice. You're going to be subject to verbal abuse at least, and more on in, aren't you? It's like people telling people to pick up cigarette ends or the takeaway carton that they heave on the floor or out the car window in the car park. I don't think there is an answer to it. I really don't. But there's those that are sensible and those who, whatever the circumstances, will contravene and do what they want to do.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Appreciate it, Roger. Thanks for calling.
Cheers, Andy. Take care. Bye.
Okay. Well, single-use plastic's been outlawed. Can you remember when single-use plastic was outlawed on the Isle of Man? Thursday, the 19th of October, 2023. It's going to be 2 years this coming October the 19th, single-use plastic. But I think at the time we queried whether dog muck bags qualified as single-use plastic, which palpably they are, but apparently you're not contravening the law if you do. More comments to come in just a few. Oh, crikey, more comments about you-know-what.
Hi Liz, I see you've had your garage converted. We're desperate for more room.
Yes, come through and have a look. John called Manx Property Conversions. We now have an extra bedroom, but it could be another reception room, kids' playroom or office. They also did our conservatory roof last year. We were so impressed, we got them back to convert the garage.
Wow, I need that. What's their number again?
Call MPC on 450 500. That's 450 500. Or find them on Facebook at Manx Property Conversions.
Well, today, I'm going to talk about the finest bathrooms in town. Hello, cheeky monkey. I hope you're going to recommend Paysetter. Of course. Wow. It's where all the cool cats go. Yes, smart cats like you choose Paysetter for a wide range of stylish designs and superb expert advice. Squawk! Paysetter! Paysetter! That's right, Polly. The magic starts when you visit Paysetter Tile and Bathroom Studio, Harris Terrace, Douglas. Or search online for Paysetter Douglas.
Spring, a time for new beginnings and nature. This season, why not have a fresh start by switching your savings to Guernsey's Bank Skipton International and watch them grow? Skipton International offers a range of savings accounts, from fixed term to notice and easy access, enabling your savings to bloom for longer. So make this spring one to remember by switching to Skipton International today.
For details of all Skipton International savings products, call 01481 730 730 or visit skiptoninternational.com. Skipton International is licensed to take deposits by the GFSC and is a participant in the Guernsey Banking Deposit Compensation Scheme. See dcs.gg.
The Journey to a Dream podcast is where racing meets real life, from onboards to odd jobs and friendships forged at full throttle. This is all about motorcycle life beyond the helmet.
You can watch as many onboards, you can think you know where you're going, but everything changes at speed.
I'm a forklift mechanic. I've never had to say that in English.
What is it in Dutch?
Ben een heftruckmonteur.
Every time you go to a race meeting, before you know it, you can soon strike up great friendships and conversations because the motorcycling sort of community is so connected.
The Journey to a Dream podcast, brought to you by Kawasaki Insurance, is available now on the Manx Radio Motorsport website or wherever you get your podcasts.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
11 minutes before 1.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
And Adam's with us. Hello, Adam.
Hi, Randy. You all right today?
Very good, thanks. Good to be inside on a day like today. Not.
I just feel they're developing Douglas all wrong, Andy. You know, the bus station site, that should be a lovely green space adjacent to the quay where people can just relax and spend leisure time and just have beautiful trees all around it and just create a lovely sort of oasis in the urban jungle that's being developed down there. And the residential site, surely that needs to be on the Middlemarch site. which with this 14-storey tower, I mean, it doesn't matter about the tower too much, although I don't know where all the people are coming from to go in it. But that surely needs to be on the Middlemarch site instead of putting a casino there, because they seem to be wanting to move facilities off the promenade, don't they? First of all, they've got rid of Sunderland, and then they're wanting to move the Palace Casino to the Middlemarch site, and it's a horrible design, and it won't have any lovely views out across the bay like it does at the moment. So it's a bit of an awful thing to do, if you ask me.
Well, they seem to, as you say, they seem to be moving everything down towards around the quay, and there was a plan ages ago for the Palace Hotel, or I think then it was called the Hilton, when they had the plan, was to redevelop that site, and as you say, relocate to the Middlemarch site. It'll be a smaller place, certainly, and whether or not they get all the facilities in there, we don't know.
Pardon?
Well, I was going to say, but we need something. I mean, you're into urban design and urban architecture. Do you think Douglas needs something quite bold?
I don't know. I think it needs something which enhances the kind of the Manx feel to it, to be honest with you. I'd be in favour of rebuilding old St Matthew's Church down there, and creating a beautiful green space around it, as I say, and then having sort of vernacular architecture on the other side. Or some sort of in-keeping buildings with the rest of the town. On the other side is residential development on the Middlemarch side. But I don't think all the facilities should be getting moved off the promenade all the time. I think the promenade's always been the heart of the town. Yeah. And instead of trying to make the quay, instead of turning the promenade into entirely sort of residential, it still needs to be have a life to it and be the tourist hub for the island, and still have all the facilities, the cinema and the casino and everything still there on the promenade, instead of, because if they demolish the palace, they're just going to build apartments on it, aren't they?
Well, I think also that is it Tavere that own the Castle Mona? I think they're always talking about developing the Castle Mona, although that doesn't seem to be moving at speed.
No, they are always talking about developing the Castle Mona, and it could be developed alongside the casino, or you could put the casino temporarily in the Castle Mona while you developed the casino site into leisure facilities, or some sort of, you could have an indoor pool facilities with all sorts of indoor like sports facilities, but different to what they've got at the NSC. You could have pool and snooker tables and everything, and a modern updated. You could have a roller skating rink, and you could have indoor mini golf and all sorts of things, and indoor simulators, indoor golf simulators. You could have a real great little leisure place there for teenagers. You could have amusements, and you could have a spa and stuff as well upstairs, and you could have the casino and the Castle Mona, and so I think the whole site would be better if it was developed as a whole. The whole palace plus the Castle Mona was developed together to create a integral sort of site.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We appreciate that. Thanks for calling today, Adam.
All right, cheers, Andy. Take care.
Can anybody tell me the law on zigzags by zebra crossing, says 008. I always thought it said in the highway code you don't park on the zigzags because it blocks the view of the zebra crossing. So why do people park on them? This is Jeff who dropped a note in. Teresa Cope is on Mannin Line next week. Does her remit cover GP surgeries and the difficulties getting appointments? Well, they pay for it, so presumably. I know someone who went in person to Palatine this week to get an appointment, and there was a queue at 8 o'clock in the morning. No wonder the appointments are all gone when I ring at 8:30. This common mistake being made with the 20-mile-per-hour limit debate is assuming that the same 100 or so people who make 95% of the posts on Isle of Man social media sites who call Mannin Line represent the views of the Isle of Man. They don't, says Steve. 95% don't post on sites or call the Mannin Line, so it's frustrating when these people make the assumption that they speak for everybody. Well, there is an answer to that, Steve. They should call Mannin Line. That's what they should do. How can we have 30% less children killed? We don't have any deaths in the first place. Too easy to make motorists accountable for others. Remember the Green Cross Code. There is an onus on the pedestrian to pay attention. Well, there is that. And particularly pedestrians who insist on wearing ear pods. and wander across the road. Didn't there used to be an advert on telly showing a child being hit by a car going above 30? The film reverses and says the child being hit at 30, it's 30 for a reason. Was that a lie? Says Nick. I remember that. Nick the Skip remembers that advert. Do you remember the advert? If you want to get in touch, by the way, remember you can, out of hours. The answer phone is always on 682-631. People should take photographs of bad dog owners leaving dog muck and report it to the warden, then identify and fine them, says Mark. I live in Greenlands Avenue. My fence backs onto the new walkway into Ramsey. I'm always picking up the full bags of dog muck thrown behind the fence. Put them in the bin, please, says 790. No fine for no poo bag. That will make somebody keep the bag in the pocket instead of using it to pick up the poo. Thank you, Charles in Port Erin. Has to be an answer to this, doesn't there? Text, email, call and WhatsApp. You're on Mannin Line on Manx Radio. Stick around, and we're back tomorrow at midday.